addressing people in Andamans today. It was a big rally. On the other hand, in the evening, Prime Minister was part of a big NDA meet. I know it's going to be India versus NDA. India is a name, which is the Indian National Development Inclusive Alliance. That's what Congress has done. And Bharatiya Janata Party has also done its show of strength with 38 partners. BJP as opposed to Congress with 26. That was the Sammelan which they organized in Bengaluru. Now the question is, in this India versus NDA, today PM spoke on 5 different principal points. And Prime Minister this time has again spoken on the issue of dynasty. He has spoken on the issue of corruption. He said this in a very unsentimental way that this alliance is opportunistic in nature. And he clearly outlined what I think the way BJP is going to fight the election. And Brijesh, there was a very famous line in one of the Hindi newspapers which read, BJP को साथी की ज़रूरत है और कांग्रेस को सारथी की ज़रूरत है. And I found it very apt. But let's listen to the bites of the Prime Minister. Then I'll introduce our guest, senior journalist Neerja Chaudhary ji, and also Gautam Mukherjee ji. They will join us. Welcome both of you in my show To The Point. Neerja ji and Gautam ji, welcome. In studio, I'm joined by my input editor Brijesh Pandey. Before that, let's listen into the bites of the Prime Minister and then we take forward our conversation.
इनकी दुकान पर 2 चीजों की गारंटी मिलती है. एक तो ये अपनी दुकान पर जातिवाद का जहर बेचते हैं और दूसरा ये लोग असीमित भ्रष्टाचार करते हैं. आजकल ये लोग बेंगलुरु में जुटे हैं. एक जमाने में एक गाना बहुत मशहूर था, मुझे तो पूरा याद नहीं है लेकिन मुझे याद आ रहा है. एक चेहरे पर कई चेहरे लगा लेते हैं लोग. एक चेहरे पर कई चेहरे लगा लेते हैं लोग. आप देखिए ये लोग कितने चेहरे लगाकर बैठे हैं. जब ये लोग कैमरे के सामने एक फ्रेम में आ जाते हैं तो पहला विचार देश के सामने क्या आता है? पहला विचार देश के लोगों के मन में यही आता है, पूरा फ्रेम देख करके देशवासी यही बोल उठता है, लाखों करोड़ों रुपए का भ्रष्टाचार. इसलिए देश की जनता कह रही है कि ये तो कट्टर भ्रष्टाचारी सम्मेलन हो रहा है. कट्टर भ्रष्टाचारी सम्मेलन हो रहा है. ये लोग गा कुछ और रहे हैं, हाल कुछ और है. इन्होंने लेबल कुछ और लगाया हुआ है, माल कुछ और है. इनका प्रोडक्ट है 20 लाख करोड़ रुपए के घोटाले की गारंटी. भारत की बदहाली के जिम्मेदार कुछ लोग अपनी दुकान खोलकर बैठ गए हैं. इन्हें देखकर मुझे एक कविता की कुछ पंक्तियां याद आती हैं. एक कवि महाशय ने अवधि में लिखा था. ये अवधि भाषा में लिखी गई कविता है. गायित कुछ है, हाल कुछ है, लेबिल कुछ है, माल कुछ है. 24 के लिए 26 होने वाले राजनीतिक दलों पर ये बड़ा फिट बैठता है. गायित कुछ है, हाल कुछ है, लेबिल कुछ है और माल कुछ है, यानी गाना कोई और गाया जा रहा है, जबकि सच्चाई कुछ और है। लेबल किसी और का लगाया गया है, जबकि प्रोडक्ट कुछ और ही है। इनकी दुकान की यही सच्चाई है। लोकतंत्र के लिए कहा जाता है ऑफ द पीपल, बाय द पीपल, फॉर द पीपल। लेकिन इन परिवारवादियों का मंत्र है ऑफ द फैमिली, बाय द फैमिली, फॉर द फैमिली। फैमिली फर्स्ट, नेशन नथिंग। इन लोगों का मोटो है, इनकी यही प्रेरणा है। ये लोग देश के लोकतंत्र को, देश के संविधान को अपना बंधक बनाना चाहते हैं। इनके लिए मैं यही कहना चाहूंगा, नफरत है, नफरत है, घोटाले हैं, नफरत है, घोटाले हैं, तुष्टीकरण है, मन काले हैं।
Neerja ji, a big day today. 2 meetings, 26 parties in Bengaluru. We have 38 parties. Prime Minister looked pretty aggressive. If I may ask you, what do the scales look like?
Look, it's a long haul, but as we say, using a cliche, the bugle has been sounded for 2024. Now, every day, you and I are going to see new strategies, new programs, parties breaking, parties reuniting from one side to another. It's a melting pot. Now, what do the scales look like? As of now, the NDA is way ahead if you were to go by the 2019 figures. And to give a beating to the 2019 figures is not easy, because as far as the Prime Minister is concerned, there may be a little change in his popularity. Broadly, at the end of more than 9 years, he remains popular. And what the opposition is doing is, consolidate. 37% was with the BJP in 2019, 63% with the non-BJP. The opposition is now trying to consolidate as much of that opposition space in its favor as it possibly can. Will it be able to do it? Because there are several parties outside the ambit of their involvement. They are not, whether it's Naveen Patnaik, whether it's KCR, whether it's Jagan Reddy, whether it's Mayawati, and those are big parties. So, it's very difficult to answer your question, because it also hinges on how the ground sentiment is shifting. Is it shifting? Has anti-incumbency taken its toll, or only to a certain extent? But certainly it's looking as coalition versus coalition in 2024. With the NDA now reaching out to allies new and old, 38 parties, and here 26 parties. So the advantage with the NDA is you have a popular leader leading as the helmsman, and you have a big party as the pivot. On the other side, you have several parties. The Congress is only at around 50 seats. So they're getting together and mounting a one-on-one fight against the BJP or the NDA's candidate is their challenge. Of course, there is no clear leadership. So it's going to be, to answer your question briefly, it's going to be a long haul for them. But certainly the BJP is taking opposition unity efforts very seriously. That is evident from the Prime Minister's strident tone today. That's evident from the 38 parties that are meeting as part of NDA today, much more than possibly you and I are taking.
This reminds me when I was in school in late 80s, Gautam, there was an ad campaign which Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi then started, Mera Bharat Mahan. And if you recall that, you had this photograph of Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi standing like that, and then you had a sort of a ladder of leaders, starting from Vishwanath Pratap Singh, then you had on top of it Devi Lal, then you had Chandrasekhar on top of it, and then you have, for Ajit Singh, then you had someone like left leaders, Jyoti Babu, and then you had N.T. Rama Rao. And so, the whole imagery was Rajiv Gandhi versus those 16 or 20 leaders. She has a very interesting point, Neerja ji. She says it's going to be a battle of alliance. So is it correct to say it's not going to be Modi versus rest? The practicality has dawned on BJP that साथियों की भी जरूरत है, सारथी तो है, साथी की जरूरत है, वहां साथी बहुत है, सारथी नहीं है.
Well, to the extent that it does not want to appear arrogant and cocksure, very much these 38 parties are part and parcel of that apparent humility, could be actual humility. They have taken a beating in recent assembly elections. So I think they want to listen to other people a little more closely than they have been of late. Many of their frontal attacks, as in West Bengal, failed. They lost Karnataka rather humiliatingly. So it is definitely a time to take the whole business seriously. The other thing is that there's a tremendous amount at stake. A third term consecutively will mean a consolidation of the NDA hold on power, on ideology, on policy, on the direction this country will take in no uncertain terms. 15 straight years is the kind of thing that used to happen in the Nehruvian era, in Indira Gandhi's time with a few wobbles, and hasn't been seen since. And if this keeps up, then why not 20 and why not 25, which is part of the ambition of the BJP. So they cannot afford to be, cocksure or overconfident. It cost them very badly in 2004 when out of the blue, Congress managed to upturn this whole India shining and emerge, much to their surprise, into power. And they held on to it for 10 long years. So, yes, they have every reason to be cautious and to work, as I have been reading, right from the block level upwards, make sure that their cadres are motivated, make sure that they're getting full-on backing from the RSS because they are extremely effective at the grassroots level, and recent initiatives to try and reach out to territories that are still not part of their voter base, such as the Pasmanda Muslims, and particularly the women amongst the Pasmanda Muslims. Will they use the UCC as a way to split some of that into their favor? Remains to be seen how much nerve, because it is a double-edged sword. It could provide a handle to the opposition that has very pointedly, added inclusive in its acronym. And, how much boldness will the BJP show? One is it needs to show a certain amount of boldness to keep its core voter base intact. Secondly, it needs to go beyond this 37, which is an average, but, in some places they've done very well, 40, 45, 50 even. So they need to bring up the voter, percentages, the vote percentages in their favor to more or less put this virulent part of the opposition in the shade and consolidate with the line or people usually the opposition, but have always sided with them, voted with them. So between the two and the 38, they hope to romp home once again with the leadership of the Modi.
Okay. Brijesh, there are two things. One, it is understandable that they don't want to make it BJP versus the rest. But then the sort of friends they have made, I think they require a lot of justification. For example, Ajit Pawar, Eknath Shinde, the charge of BJP being a laundromat, or as Mamta Banerjee, in a very famous, one of her shows where she, had a washing machine, and the black cloth went inside and the white coat came inside. That imagery would hold true. I think they have made friends, they've got them in the tent, but then what about the party with difference?
I mean, see, the people no longer say that the party of difference, because these are not the only cases. We have seen before, Mukul Roy, we have seen Subhendu Adhikari, and there are many others who have done that. See, what the BJP is trying to do right now is that it has displayed, as we have been discussed several times, Kartikeya, before as well, that 2024 remains the biggest challenge for the BJP. And the BJP is a party, BJP, and especially, more than BJP, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is a person, is a politician who is not afraid to cut his losses. He's not afraid to put his neck out, and he's also in the same thing, not afraid to cut his losses and let go of a situation. The farmers' agitation is a case in point, and he's displaying the similar kind of thing here as far as the 2023 is concerned, because getting Eknath Shinde, getting Ajit Pawar is the reason why, because he knows that if he doesn't solve the problem of Maharashtra and Bihar, the chances of him losing out is pretty bad, because there have been several surveys which the BJP has gotten, other parties done, which has shown that if Maha Vikas Aghadi remains united, they will get more seats. A similar situation is in the state of Bihar, and this is the reason why you see the surprise entry of Chirag Paswan, who earlier was, Nitish Kumar said that he's acting at the behest of the BJP, but was shunted by a very senior leader and a senior minister in the BJP cabinet, who was responsible for him being out. Now look at Chirag Paswan, all smiling and being hugged by none other than Prime Minister Narendra Modi, much to the discomfiture of Paras Paswan, who is sitting there, and the visuals are telling a story. It's very clear who is happy, who is unhappy.
But how did they manage Chirag Paswan? I learned that Chirag was saying, "Mujhe meri party wapas do."
See, what they have done is that they have sent a very clear signal as to who do they think is the real inheritor, and now it is for Paras Paswan to make peace with the newfound reality. I think they have realized that they have to change the configuration of Bihar, and that is the reason where Chirag Paswan has made a dent. Remember, when assembly election was there, Chirag Paswan single-handedly dented Nitish Kumar's big plan of being the largest party. He didn't won many seats, but the fact is that yes, he was responsible for the defeat of Nitish Kumar, or Nitish Kumar's party getting so many less seats. So BJP right now is in a mode where they want to experiment, do every single kind of experiment which will ensure that they are able to reach, or even better, the 2019 mark.
Neerja ji, as I was asking, it's they've got Shinde, they've got Ajit Pawar, but there is something called organicness of people coming together. Do you think it's they have done this big thing in Maharashtra with 48 Lok Sabha members, but is it workable?
Till the split took place, and I was in Maharashtra several parts, if you talk to ordinary people, the answer you would get is that MVA is going to win if elections take place today. Now we hear that there was sympathy for Uddhav Thackeray. Sharad Pawar was in control of the situation. Now that the party has split, the NCP, sympathy is still with Sharad Pawar of the NCP worker supporter. But what about the organization? The NCP is not a cadre-based party. The NCP is an MLA-based party. And yet, how this is going to equal out. The organization, the MLA is going one way, even though, in the last 2 days, many of them have come to Sharad Pawar and touched his feet and Maafi Mangna. What does it add up to politically? We don't know. In the coming hours, we will know what it all adds up to. But as of now, the organization has gone with Ajit Pawar and the sympathy with Sharad Pawar. What happens the 4 states that are going to be very decisive, as we know, is Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal and Karnataka. and how much the BJP loses in these states as compared to 2019. And I think these are the 4 states they're going to concentrate on heavily in terms of their strategy. But very interesting thing today, if I might point out, in Bangalore, you saw one, of course, that it's a very imaginative idea to call the alliance India. Where so far, the opposition was talking about saving democracy, saving constitution, economic difficulties of ordinary people, but were not able to translate it into an idiom which people could relate to. Now, India as an acronym, people will be able to relate to. NDA versus India, Modi versus India, idea of India versus, idea of India being India versus ideology of the BJP and so on. India is a very catchy kind of, it's a bright slogan, a bright name that they have come up with. How much effect it will have, I think time will tell, because it's not only sentiment and cleverness which matters in organization, in elections. It is the organization, leadership, and the BJP has a huge, formidable organization that the opposition has to contend with. And yet, I think the battle is going to become interesting by the hour from now on.
And Neerja ji, I was just thinking, it's not only about those who are with NDA or with India. They have taken this word India. I know someone has really applied themselves well, India versus NDA, at least this much of grace marks can be given. I was just thinking that those who are neither with NDA nor with India are also very, very powerful, and they always cooperate with BJP on the floor of the house, whether it's YSRS-CP or whether, Naveen Babu, they tend to, or Chandrababu Naidu, or even often BRS, they tend to do some sort of a floor coordination with the incumbent government.
I think, if I were to, broadly, if I was to say, it is going to be, politics is going to be divided into 2 coalitions now. NDA led by BJP, Narendra Modi, this India, the Congress is trying to take a back seat. They're not pushing themselves forward and acting as the big brother, which is a change from the past. But India, and then you have, as you say, these parties, which is BJD, KCR's party, Jagan Reddy's YSR Congress, Mayawati. Mayawati is also not shown where she's going to go. Now, these are very important parties, but these parties, whatever be their secret understandings in the run-up to the election, they will go with whoever comes to power in 2024. That seems to be the clear, line that's coming through. So otherwise, we are now heading towards, once again, a 2 coalitional arrangement, not a 2-party arrangement, but 2 coalitional arrangement once again, as was the case when Mr. Vajpayee was in power.
A lot of people,
when UPA was in power.
A lot of people would said in 2014 that, what LK Advani on the floor of the House after losing Lok Sabha election 2009 said, that, ultimately, we have a system which 2 parties dominate the, and he said this in Lok Sabha, that was like after the results were out, that it's a 2-party system now, and he was saying that, like complimenting himself, saying that despite the fact that they've lost election, but there's a system in place, it's not a 1-party domination. Came 2014, people, a lot of political writers, seasoned social scientists, they started writing, that was a political upward. The real system is 1 party, a dominant party at center, and sort of multiple parties at state. So, Gautam, it's so, the politics is so quick in this country that things change, where, he was being projected as one person against multiple parties. Today, they've gone back to multiple small parties.
Well, I think it is more a way of softening the image than a lack of confidence. Mm-hmm. The idea is that, in effect, they expect to win a majority on their own. But to have another 30, 40 seats from the the 38 Gathbandhan and things of that order cannot be bad. It only gives you greater heft and inclusiveness. You know, it kind of blunts the other notion that, you know, Modi is a megalomaniac, a dictator, only and a Hindutva, icon that doesn't give a damn about either the constitution or anyone else. All of this has to be blunted. And in order to do that, a move like this is very much in order. I don't think a coalition that comes about, if it's a winning coalition, if the center collapses, it will be, as Neerja pointed out, because they're unable to bust into Bihar as they have in Maharashtra, and that they turn the organization and the sentiment in their favor in these two states, assuming, of course, that they keep a tight hold on UP. They're almost home with just these three. And then the other northern states should see them through, even though I don't expect very much to happen for the NDA in the south. Now, in all of this, to make sure that the image problems are readdressed, I think that is what this is about. This is not a Vajpayee weak coalition that is expected. It is a coalition, all right, but a coalition that says, look, I am not giving all the orders, I'm listening to people.
But Neerja ji, this brings me to the question, is it possible, like Janta experiment of 1977, to have a common candidate? Do you think that that sort of an understanding exists, keeping in mind the bitter election that was fought, Panchayat election that was fought in West Bengal, or sort of multi-cornered fight that has become in Andhra and Telangana? Maharashtra is fractured. Is that possible in a place like Kerala? You have two lefts, the Kerala left and the West Bengal left. You had a Tripura left also. Is that possible, that combined candidate?
No, I don't think it is. I don't see it happening before the elections. A combined, acceptable by all candidate of the opposition. I somehow don't think that's going to happen. It's going to create more dissension. So that is a question they're going to leave till after the election. That's a question that they're going to sidestep with other kind of things, as they say, one-on-one contest, a common rhetoric. And you remember that for these parties, not easy for them to come, because there are differences, not easy for them to come together. But for them, it's a fight to retain their identity. They realize that if Mr. Modi comes to power for a third term, then things are going to become very difficult for them. So that is the fight they're waging. And of course, ED getting after many of their leaders has also been a cementing factor. So without, that is the weakness of the opposition. Even in a coalition, in the NDA coalition, you have a popular, powerful leader leading from the front. You have, as I said, a big party acting as the pivot, and a big party around which a coalition works. You remember the left front used to have the CPM as a large party in West Bengal, and the other smaller leftist parties, CPI and the other two parties, would be smaller parties around, and that was a stable coalition. So this is likely to be a stable coalition because you have a big party and a strong leader. The strong leader, as Gautam says, now trying to give a different kind of image, and the other side has equal parties, almost equal. That is the large Congress, but it is tactically taking a back step and not acting in a big brotherly way. That is much more difficult to hold together, no doubt about it. But as I say, it's a fight they're fighting as they see it for their existence. It's an existential fight for many of them. Of course, they're fighting for democracy, for constitutional values. As I say again, that they have to translate it into terms that ordinary people, the person on the ground, relates to and connects with.
You wrote on Bharat Jodo Yatra, if you recall, you said that there's a shift on the ground. Do you think that Congress has been able to sustain that, or has it I read you read number of articles you wrote. Do you think that that has sustained or has it evaporated?
Look, the Bharat Jodo Yatra, what I found to my surprise, even in areas where I went, where the Yatra didn't go, it changed the image of Rahul Gandhi. The fact that he walked 4,000 kilometers to go to people, he's come to us to listen to us. That, a more serious, the Pappu had gone. Now, it doesn't mean that other regional parties, the regional satraps, accept Rahul's leadership. No, they don't. And that is why Sonia Gandhi has had to step in Bangalore to give this impression, main hoon na. And I'm not a prime ministerial candidate, nor is Rahul. And Mr. Kharge has also made this very clear that Congress is not going to bid for prime ministership in 2024. So that is the reassuring kind of sound that signal that they have made, but yet there are many to work out the seat sharing. It's not going to be easy. There are many challenges that lie ahead for them.
Gautam, do you think that in 2014 it was the governance कि कोई अच्छी तरीके से राज करेगा? By 2019, 50 days before the elections, it became about national security. What sort of a pitch do you find? Because, when I heard these bite, it was on dynasty, but then you have dynasts in BJP. Corruption, you have Ajit Pawar, in BJP's table. And if I join Labharti politics, then Congress is equally challenging them on Labharti politics. What do you think will be the pivot? Even if I say that, what do you understand of the situation as of now?
It will be a two-pronged attack. One will certainly be Hindutva, with the Mandir being inaugurated in January of 2024. It will create a great deal of euphoria among the faithful. At the same time, I think BJP has begun for quite some time now, certainly over the last year, the talk of who is truly inclusive. Sabka Vikas, Sabka Prayas is being given teeth. And so and this Jatiwadi that he attacked on today as one of the planks is that you people are fake, you're in it for yourself, your family, you don't care about the country, nor do you care about anything except power. And in that, I am inclusive. I don't differentiate between a Muslim and a Hindu when I provide welfare. And I am coming very close to many Islamic countries on an international basis. They, in turn, are reciprocating. So, all in all, who is the real inclusivity fellow over here? BJP would like to plump that. So there's a lot of image shifting, a lot of facts and figures being promoted to say that we are the ones that can deliver the goods for all of the people of India. So, and that combined with Hindutva is what it's about.
Is it right, toughest questions are reserved for you, Brijesh, कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने थोड़ा पुचकार के और थोड़ा ईडी के डंडे से 38 party coalition खड़ा कर लिया?
I don't think so. I mean, I feel that the reverse is for the India party. I mean, the India acronym. For the fact is that, this is something which I have said so many times, that one of the biggest unifier for all these 26 parties is going to be ED. Look at Mamata Banerjee, Abhishek Banerjee and his wife is on, and very senior Trinamool Congress leaders are on the radar of the ED. Same goes for Stalin, Senthil Balaji is behind bars. The same goes for Tejasvi Yadav, the same goes for many other parties. So, see, there the fear of ED is real. This side, I think, majority of these parties, which the BJP let go of, the parties which left BJP, they didn't get a rich political dividends. And that is the reason why, there are many who wants to make a comeback. The Shiromani Akali Dal at that time of farmer agitation thought that it would be suicidal to remain with the BJP. They parted ways with the BJP. Look what has happened of Shiromani Akali Dal. The LJP is a case in point. There are several other parties, who parted with their new acquisitions also. The acquisition of Chirag Paswan, the acquisition of Ajit Pawar, the acquisition of Eknath Shinde. These acquisitions are like, you want to grow organically, that's all right. But then there's a term called merger and acquisition. This is an acquisition. This is how you expand quickly. Otherwise, if you vote for organic, it can take you years. And they don't want to take chances in these two states, state of Maharashtra and state of Bihar, where they have won maximum number of seats.
Okay.
Where the fear of a good challenge is very rare.
Gautam said something. Let me put this question to Neerja ji. Hindutva. But Karnataka has shown that if Hindutva stands alone, it doesn't get you much. Hindutva has to be married to market. It has to be married to mobile. It has to be married to mandi. So Hindutva plus तो does well. Hindutva minus market and mobile में problem हो जाता है.
नहीं, वो बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं आप. In that sense, the Modi phenomenon is not just Hindutva. The Modi phenomenon has been Hindutva. Of course, he is the Hindu Hriday Samrat. It's a given. People look at him like that. It is nationalism, it's national security, it's social welfareism, it is a strong and tough leader, it is political stability. It's a cocktail of a whole lot of things that Modi has offered. People recognize that India today is an aspirational country. And that is something the opposition has taken a long time. Whether they've recognized it even today, I don't know. Their story has been gloom and doom. GST kam ho jayega, ye hardship hai. They're not catering to an India, young India, that wants now to, break glass ceiling, go ahead. If you travel through small town India identifies with Modi. Here was a chaiwala who's made it to the top. So that note the opposition needs to strike somewhere, which Modi has managed to, get that pulse of the people. Now, but the economic hardship, this also is a fact. A lot more people today are talking about, prices affecting them. You won't believe it. I went to buy rice. It's a small anecdote in Delhi. And in 2 weeks, the fellow had put up the price of rice, different kinds of rice. So I said, why this? And he said, ab to Modi ka Raj hai na. Prices will go up. Now, I'd not heard this before. Modi was not identified with this kind of thing. So people are hurting on economic front. And yet, that's, they forgive the NDA. So far, they've tended to forgive the BJP because, as I often say this, the dialogue in the film Diwar, where Shashi Kapoor tells Amitabh Bachchan, you have this, but mere paas maa hai. So BJP says, mere paas Modi hai. And that has worked so far. But will it continue to work if people hurt economically?
No. I think I'll add a word to it. Not my analysis. I read it in 2015. I'm forgetting the person who wrote it. Vishwas ki Rajniti. Do you think that will suffice, Gautam? The politics of faith, as Neerja ji was saying, ठीक है, बहुत गलती कर दी पर आदमी ठीक है. Let's go with him. Do you think that can work out? Third time? Vishwas ki Rajniti?
Given the field, yes. Simply because even if you do sort of war games on who could be a potential leader to rival him from the India lot, it's very difficult to find anybody with stature as well as vision, as well as, of charisma, and so on and so forth. There's hardly anybody in the BJP to rival. Of course, because he sort of stands head and shoulders above everybody else, and it's a very centralized sort of PMO-run kind of place, that is part of the reason. But, apart from Rahul Gandhi launched for the umpteenth time and still barely makes any sense, there's nobody. Nitish Kumar, he might want to be Prime Minister till the cows come home, but he looks like a shady character and will probably come back to the NDA anyway. But even though the BJP seems to be creating another sphere with Paswan, another sphere. So No, it's not easy to take Modi on. Is he the best? I agree with Nitya that prices and unemployment are major potent and taxes for that matter, indirect, direct. Much as all the infrastructure is something that at least the middle class and above are probably very grateful for. The poor say, well, okay, but what's in it for me? That's why the freebies are so potent in elections, and BJP would be well advised after 2 rounds of facing the effects of freebies, working with the public to do likewise. They have to take this on. They can't ignore it and take the high ground and say, my welfare is for everybody and it's structured better and so on. It doesn't resonate. So you've got to do things to bolster the image of Modi, not just intellectually and emotionally, as I think has begun to be done, but on the street. You've got to do something which is quite populist and plebeian as well. And I think the BJP, I hope that it learns that lesson and starts to manifest some of those things.
But Brijesh, apart from this, Bharatiya Janata Party has got challenges in front of them. They have a real challenge in Chhattisgarh. They have a real challenge, and this is the part of the conversation which I kept it for the last part of my program, is Madhya Pradesh. Leaders very close to Jyotiraditya Scindia at an organizational level who had defected to Bharatiya Janata Party, they have started to come back to Congress, and this is all the vernacular papers are reporting in Datia, Bhind, Shevghar, that's called Chambal Vibhag, and the Shivpuri, that has happened. Even in Rajasthan, BJP has not been able to mend or to get Vasundhara on the same page. So it's not as if that the BJP's challenge, I'm just taking this conversation forward, has ended when it comes to managing problems when it comes to North Indian states. It's
Kartikeya, I'll just say this, that the problems which you're talking of is problem in the assembly election. As Nirja ma'am very aptly quoted this Shashi Kapoor, this thing, I would also like to tell you one thing, that price rises are pinching. But whenever you see TV screens and there's one person who says कि petrol 2000 का हो जाएगा तब भी वोट मोदी को देंगे, you may laugh at him. Many people laugh at him. But trust me, the majority thinks like that. The price rise pinches you, but the price rise doesn't force you to change your mindset to a level where you start voting for an alternate other than Narendra Modi. Assembly elections, yes. And I think, what you're seeing on the ground, happening on the ground, is more so to contain the decline or arrest the decline which is happening in assembly election. But trust me, Lok Sabha is a completely different ball game altogether. Example of Delhi. Where Kejriwal beats BJP despite all its might, despite all its tallest leader, big leader, 50 narratives working in favor of them, 63-7, 67-3. And the same thing happens, when you look at the Lok Sabha election, it's 7-0. So Lok Sabha, I honestly don't think that Lok Sabha, BJP has much to worry about. What the BJP wants to do is that the BJP this time, I will not say that, I don't agree with Gautam on one point, that they don't want to soften the image of Prime Minister. They just want to make sure that this time all the caste calculations, things which make you win even that one elusive seat, because they want to win maximum seat. They want to better the 2019.
Sangh ki 100वीं शताब्दी है.
That is there, but I don't think that the attempt is for Sangh ki 100वीं शताब्दी or anything else. It's Prime Minister Modi's third term, I would say. That is more important for the leader, and they would want to win as many seats as possible, and they would not want to let go of one single seat.
Okay.
And that is how this coalition is working. So don't get I would say too alarmed or too happy as many in the people people are writing that that there's a perceptible decline. Come Lok Sabha election, the fight will be on face of Modi. The Congress or the other opposition parties are yet to build a narrative in Lok Sabha which rivals that of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Nija ji?
I think what the BJP seems to be guarding against is if there is a slump in Lok Sabha seats. You're right that in 2019, in the state assembly elections that preceded the Lok Sabha election, the BJP lost or did badly, but it almost peaked in the Lok Sabha election. Will that phenomenon repeat is the question mark. Now, even if it loses in some states, like I pointed to 4-5 states, suppose they lose 5, 6, 7 in every state. Now, that is not a risk the BJP would like to take. The BJP is very quick to rectify when it gets a sense of things not going right. And reach out to the allies, 38 allies, is to safeguard against that situation. If the party slumps, say 60, 70, 50, 60, 70, whatever, loses them as compared to the 19th tally, then the allies can make up for that shortfall. I think that seems to be the strategy, and they will not take a risk. And they will, of course, they always do. They pull out all stops as far as winning elections.
I think more than pulling out all stops, one thing is very, very clear, that today, yes, the battle lines have been drawn. Congress did well with other political parties to come out with an acronym like India. It makes it worthwhile. I was just going through the Twitter
acronym
feed.
I think is a very real achievement, if I may say so.
It was actually
of the 26 parties.
it was actually trending on Twitter. It's good to see the stuff trend on Twitter, but I don't know how much will it trend real time when it comes to elections, because there is no doubt that the organizational structure of the Congress is pretty weak and has become non-existent in a lot of states. And you have states where Congress is still not forgiven, like Andhra Pradesh, where people, a part of Andhra, still feel that Congress should not have divided the state. So, the stakes are high for the Congress, and the challenge is also tough. For Prime Minister Modi, as Neeja ji said, it's more about safeguarding. And yes, I do believe that, who doesn't want friends when the elections get close? So this is all from News9 Live in my show To The Point. Thank you, all of you.
मैं इमरान अहमद खान नियाजी सबके दिल से हल्फ उठाता हूँ.
When Imran Khan came initially into politics, he thought his personal popularity would be sufficient for him. It didn't happen.
The retired military generals are openly saying that Imran Khan is a better choice.
Imran Khan may have bitten a bit too much, more than what he can chew.
Implosion. This and more. Streaming on world's first news OTT. News9 Plus. Download now.
China's malicious activities at the border with India have been uncovered by the Pentagon. In its report to the US Congress, the US Department of Defense has categorically said that China has built a large village in a disputed area.
They have a very clear vision about how to go about claiming and legitimizing their territory.
On the contrary, in the Indian side, there are lack of facilities there, lack of infrastructure, lack of any kind of incentives to stay on. So the exodus takes place.
नौकरी न होने के कारण यहाँ से सब बाहर ही रहते हैं.
लास्ट बॉर्डर नीति में तो व्यवस्था नहीं है अभी.
If you provide the infrastructure, I think people would love to stay in the habitat where they belong to.